Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's me, Pastor David, Freedom Fellowship Church, and I'm here in downtown Atlanta. And if 2020 has taught us anything, it has taught us that whenever you have plans, that often life interrupts those plans and you have to adjust. People know at Freedom Fellowship Church, we do Freedom Talks every fifth Sunday. And somebody shares their testimony with our congregation, and we're blessed by their lived experience. But this week, due to what's going on in the media and what's going on in our society, I felt it was important for us to make an adjustment. I thought it was important to create a platform and an opportunity to have a real open and honest conversation, and just to really hear from my brothers about how they're feeling, what's been going on in their thoughts. I've been seeing how people have been feeling online, but it's nothing better to hear it from your own. I had the opportunity even today to be downtown and be a part of and to just witness the different protests and people protest and how people are literally crying and people are literally hurting, and you can see it on people's faces. Had the opportunity to experience people really from all walks of life share in this grief due to recent incidents that happened in Minnesota. And this is just, I just think it's so important that we have this conversation and we share this conversation with you. And I hope something is said to stimulate even your thought. I hope something is said to even bring a greater awareness to you at how the people around you are feeling. So today I'm honored to share this platform, and it's important that I do these introductions right. To my right, I have Doctor. Yeah, it's important that I say that. It's important that I say that. Earned doctorate, Doctor Glenn Spencer Jr.
Appreciate it, man.
Thank you. And to my left, my other brother, Attorney. It's important that I say that. Yeah. Attorney Kevin Golden. And also who serves as the music director at Freedom Fellowship Church. I'm grateful to have this conversation with these two brothers, two guys I've learned to look up to, guys I've learned to love, guys I've learned to appreciate who they've been in my life.
Thank you. Likewise.
Yeah, so we'll start the conversation like this. So earlier this week, we know all that's been going on. I'm on my phone, I'm scrolling, and literally on Instagram, every post it's a social justice post. Yeah. Everybody's saying things, and it was a moment of conviction for me because I had to ask myself, why haven't I posted anything yet? And in that moment, I had to sit with that thought and ask myself, wait, David, how do you even really feel about this moment? And in this, because I'm seeing what people are writing, I'm seeing things on TV, but I've yet to post anything because I've yet to sit with the feeling.
Yeah.
And then the same time later that day, a friend of mine calls me. She's literally crying. And she's asking me, because I'm a pastor, how is she supposed to respond to this? She tells me about a post she sees on Facebook, a white gentleman. And she was hurt by how insensitive he was to this whole situation. And even that conversation forced me to think, how do I feel?
Yeah.
And what I had to get to was simply this. And this was scary for me because I had to ask myself, have I become desensitized to this?
Yeah.
But then I think that I landed on the thought that I've not gotten to the point where I accept injustice or I accept police brutality, but unfortunately, I expect it.
It doesn't surprise you.
Right, it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm hurt that this gentleman died. I hate how it happened. I hate all these things. But the bad part is I wasn't surprised by it. So that altered how I responded to it. So I just want to start this conversation today. Just either one can jump in. What was your initial response? What were your initial thoughts when you became aware of the situation?
So, for me, kind of similar to you, I had scrolled, I had seen everything happening, and matter of fact, my brother Jeffrey was coming over that day, for a writing session. So we were planning to write some songs, and it's hard for me to write when I'm not in a good headspace or emotional space. Mm-hmm. So I deliberately said, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to watch this. I'm not over what I saw 2-3 weeks ago of a brother jogging, being gunned down, chased down, then gunned down, and here we go again. I'm not going to be able to write if I watch this. But Jeffrey came over and he asked me, like, bro, did you see it? I'm like, no. I asked him, like, did you? He like, yeah. He said, and you should. And so before, yes, I'd seen people, I've seen this story play out time and time again. Yeah. But in order to, all black folks, we all have some sort of PTSD by this point. Mm-hmm. Yeah, from definitely. No one is supposed to see that many people die these type of violent deaths. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so I guess to protect myself, to protect my mental health or emotional well-being, I'm like, I cannot watch yet another one. But I think it's important that I did, and I'm glad that Jeffrey told me to, because as often as this happened, we cannot afford to be desensitized to this. Right. And we cannot afford to be numb to this. And we cannot be so selfish to separate ourselves from this, because for decades, centuries, whatever, some of our white counterparts have been able to do that and say, hey, I'm not the issue. I'm not racist. But they don't have to feel that pain, because they don't have to see it. They don't have to live it. They don't have to associate with it. And the scary thing is for us to become like them. Yeah. Yeah. In the name of protecting our own sanity or mental health. And it's just like, no, this is us. This is not you, but it could be. Yeah. This is not me, but it could be. Wow. And so I think it's important to see it. Yeah. I think it's important to sit with it. And I think it's okay to not be okay with it. I think it's okay to not be productive. I think it's okay to be outraged. I think it's okay to be upset and cry and angry and pray and be confused as to why this is still happening. And so that was kind of my initial response once I did, watch it. We couldn't write right then. We had to pray for a bit. But something did come out of it. Right. Something that I think, the world needs. But
And to that point, today was the first day I watched the video. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Today is the first day I watched the video.
You know what? It's funny you say that. So my initial response was, I was scrolling on the phone like most of us, and I saw a headline, and it was something like Gayle King was visibly bothered by something live on air, and the headline caught my attention. And as you all know, there were 2 incidents this week. The first was the bird watcher in New York. So I watched this video, and the video of the bird watcher in New York, and the George Floyd video was right under it. Wow. I didn't watch it, and I didn't watch it because I knew where I would go, like emotionally in that moment. Mm-hmm. In that moment, we're at home. Yeah. I have my kids at home. My wife is at home. This is the first week of summer. Yeah. And you know what? I wasn't prepared to go there emotionally. Yeah. You know what I mean? I saw the headlines. I knew it was a death. It was caught on video, and I just knew a few highlights. So I was a little bit slow to watch the video, not because of disbelief, but it was one of those, here we go again.
Yeah.
You know, one of those here we go again moments. And it took me about maybe 24 hours to watch the video. And coincidentally, the kids are visibly in the other room.
Mm-hmm.
So I sit down, pull my phone up, and I'm appalled. I'm a variety of emotions.
Yeah, it's like every emotion.
You know, I don't necessarily know where this is going to go because I haven't read too many stories.
Right. Yeah.
I haven't gone down the social media feed, and I'm watching this with fresh eyes, and I don't have any kind of social media things that have set expectations. And I'm looking at it, and I hear the voice of somebody that is screaming at the police officer. I see George Floyd, but I see you.
Yeah.
And I see you.
Right.
And I see me. And I see my dad. And I see all of the countless faces. I see myself. Mm-hmm. And I'm watching them. And then I see this kind of emotionless police officer, white man.
Hands in his pockets.
Hands in his pocket, that is not responding to his fellow peer.
Yeah.
And he's not even responding to the chaos around him. And man, it was an emotional journey. I got mad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I got sad. And I just couldn't understand, why is this happening again?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, why is this happening again? So I want to say thank you for this platform because I'm on several group texts. I've had this conversation with my father, and this platform, it's healthy for me.
It's therapy.
It's therapy for me because I'm in the middle of digesting all this, finding out what is my role as a father, as a friend, as a mentor, and things of that nature.
Yeah, and I think as you alluding to this being therapy, I think it's important in any situation, especially this one, that you take time to sit with those feelings and acknowledge and name the feeling.
Yeah.
This is what I'm feeling. This is why. Then ask that question, why am I feeling this way, right? I think for me, when I'm sitting with that feeling, as both of you all kind of alluded to, it's that whole idea of here we go again, right? Because even now, I don't know if you can hear it on video, but now we're hearing sirens, we're hearing helicopters due to the protests that are literally happening downstairs right now.
That's real.
I mean, you can look out there and see the people out there. And, you know, when I was down there earlier, and I shared this with you all already, my thought was, wait, my grandfather had to do this. He had to protest. My pop's generation, he had to protest. Now we have to protest.
The same thing.
The same thing. It's not like it's a new issue. No, it's literally the same thing. The same way the situations that happen in this. You think about the Central Park, the bird watching situation. Man, you can call the name of Emmett Till, falsely accused. Falsely accused.
Yeah.
Was reported by a white woman, and you see what happened there, right?
And the point that to think that this white woman used that as a threat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She knows what can happen to this brother
by
her saying that.
Yeah. And
that's a different. That's evil, man.
Right. But. And that's not just a commentary of her. That's a commentary of our society.
Right.
Right.
It is.
That she has the wherewithal to know that in our society, if I tag it African American, I take the black man.
Like the script. It felt like a script.
Right.
Like, you know, it really
She's
felt
like,
and it's when I watched that particular video, it felt like I was watching an actor prepare for a scene. And it was like, I didn't like this part, so you know what? Let me alter my voice and alter my pitch to get the response that the director wants.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it was just like, wow.
Yeah.
Like we caught a purple elephant on tape.
Yeah.
You know?
And she's not unique.
Yeah.
I mean, she's not that's not an anomaly, man.
Yeah, and so let me ask this question: how has this idea that she has wherewithal, based on our society, to do this? How have these experiences shaped even you? I'm gonna be honest. I don't know if I should confess this or not, but I confess it because we're being open and frank. About a couple weeks ago, I was at a friend of mine's apartment. Walked into the apartment. It's in a nice area in the city. There were 2 white women up ahead of me walking in the apartment. We were walking in the same direction. One of them looked back and looks at me. Then she turns back around and keeps walking. Just so happened we're going literally to the same direction, so I'm following them for a minute because we're literally going to the same place. So after they turn a couple corners, I turn those same corners. The lady looks back again, and without thinking, and I caught myself after I did it. Without thinking, I took my hood off.
And complied.
No. For me, at first I said I complied, but no, I think for me it was more. Then I realized it was fear, because I realized this white woman who looked around. I don't know why she's looking back, but in a way to protect myself, I took my hood off.
Here I am.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
Just unconsciously,
Yeah.
because my thing is, I realized the privilege she has to be able to call and say the black man in the hoodie.
Yeah.
Right. And so, I had to sit with that because I'm like, man, I wonder how many things I do unconsciously.
Yeah.
Right.
Because of the society in which I live in, and I hate to use this expression, I just want to make it home.
Right. And I mean, to take it to another level, and I think that you're right on, it's the things that you're doing unconsciously, but the things that you have been programmed to do.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think about, like, my father, he served 20 plus years in the United States Navy, retired.
Yeah.
You know what? I am just like every other kid. When you go in the store, what does your mom and dad say? Keep your what out your pocket.
Hands out your pocket.
Because why?
They don't think you're
Stealing. Yeah.
That's programming.
Yeah.
You know that. I mean, and again, it's programming because sometimes I think that we have, whether it's right or wrong, I put this over here.
Yeah.
It's playing defense.
Yeah.
It's playing defense. We're not playing necessarily to win the game, but we're
playing
just
to stay in it.
We're just playing to stay in it. So this whole concept of defense. So when I do those kind of those explorations of hands in a pocket, and I brought my father up because I remember when I got my license, and I had a military license at the same time, and the disconnect of how other races, they just misunderstand the level of intentional programming as far as defense. In my wallet, my dad told me, make sure you keep your military ID on top of your driver's license. And because he believed that military ID was a form of defense. It was something that was going to keep his son a little safer.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then that kind of program, like the hood,
Yeah.
the hands in the pocket. But we all get to an age when we actually start to think of, why am I doing this?
Right.
Why should I have to do it?
Right. Why we?
We shouldn't.
We should.
But you have a wife and 3 beautiful babies.
Yeah.
I have a wife and 2 beautiful baby boys at home that are depending on us to come home.
Right.
Yeah.
And we subject. Sorry.
Okay.
We have to subject ourselves to things that no human should have to, because of our responsibility to make it home.
Wow.
And I'm sorry, man.
No, you're fine. You're absolutely fine, brother.
When I was 16, I went to, the high school I went to was predominantly black, but it was a good mix.
Mm-hmm.
One of my best friends was white. We were teammates, played football together. He loved being around black people. I've never known him to date a white girl. But at the time, I was a junior in high school. He was a senior in high school.
Yeah.
Our girlfriends were best friends. I was at his house just hanging out, and we got the invite to go over to one of our girls, kind of just a hangout, kind of kick back. So I didn't have a car, so I drove his brother's car. Got permission, drove his brother's car. We were headed home. We weren't doing anything wrong. We weren't doing any drinking. We were headed home. It wasn't that late, maybe 10 o'clock at night. I was speeding a little bit. And when I say a little bit, no, I mean it.
Little bit.
The posted sign was 35. I was going 40. When I say I was speeding a little bit, I was speeding a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. Then it was like a block that was 25. Then it went back to 35. One of those speed traps. I got caught. Pulled me over. Do you know No, I have no idea. I'm just trying to get home.
Yeah.
He took my driver's license. By the time he got back to the car, there were 3 additional squad cars, 6 police officers. Sir, can I have my driver's license? Get out the car. What did I do? You get out the car. I'm not going to ask you again. Yes, sir. I get out the car. My friend, man, no, we ain't do nothing. We ain't get. Please, man, just get out the car. Get out the car. They throw us both against the car, patting us all down, hands in my crotch, straight violating me. Busy street, people driving past slow, looking at me. Then they have me sitting on the curb.
Yeah.
Say, don't move your hands. Have me sitting on the curb. Then they pick him up. They make him hold his pants out and jump up and down. Then they say, what the hell are you doing with him? Pointing at me. They toss the car around. They find some Aleve. And they're like, what is this? Yeah. Sir, it's Aleve. We play football. We have pain. Eventually, after about an hour 15 minutes, they let us go. We get back to his parents' house or whatever. His mom is outraged. I'm gonna have their badge, blah, blah, blah. My mother didn't say a word. She just came and hugged me, and we cried. And the wherewithal, that picture right there, is a huge indicator of the difference.
Yeah.
His mom is outraged at how could these officers have the audacity to, national honor, great students. How could they have the audacity to do that to us?
Right.
And my mother was just like, I'm glad that you made it home. I'm in the car. I'm pleading with my friend, please don't say nothing. Yeah. I'm at least going to get beat up.
Right.
And that is my thought process. And so every time we get in the car, that is what goes through our minds.
Yeah.
Whereas for him, that was the unconscionable.
Right.
For me, that was expected.
Yeah. And I think, man, because of that expectation, we have to go back to kind of what Glenn said to kind of just pull both of those together. That's why we have to play defense.
Yeah.
And all of us played ball.
Yeah.
And no kid growing up wants to play defense. Usually, everybody wants to play offense.
The glory's on offense.
The glory's on
offense.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you're in practice, you just wait. You don't want to practice defense.
Yeah.
Let's practice offense.
Yeah.
Because defense gets tiring.
Mm-hmm.
It's no fun. When you get older and you realize you're a defensive player, it's different experience then. But as a young kid playing defense, you don't want to play defense.
Truth be told, let's
feels like
keep
it's
it real.
Always their turn.
Right. All defensive players are the defensive players that tried out for offense and lacked one specific skill.
Like
can
a
we be
DB
real?
is a receiver who can't catch.
Yeah. Can we be real? Because everybody how many defensive player awards did Jordan win?
Right.
Nobody wants to be Jordan because he was defensive player of the year.
People want Jordan.
Right. There's no defensive championship in the All-Star game. Let's see who can get down and put your palms up.
Who gets the most? No one cares.
No defensive skills challenge.
Right. But yet that's our reality.
Mm-hmm.
We have to play defense every day of our lives, as you said, just to get home.
But Pastor David,
It's just David.
Oh, David. Listen, I think it's trying to explain that to others.
Yeah, I was just about to go there. Yeah.
Were you?
Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
About
No,
just
you
how
good.
often that we are on defense and how we never get the ball.
You don't get the ball.
Like, and I think that what's so interesting of all these stories, they're all degrees of defensive stories.
Yeah.
They're all, and you know what? We start to teach defense. I find myself, because I love my son,
Right.
I start teaching him defensive tactics.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
but offensive tactics is what moves the ball.
Yeah.
And I start, and
Well, we don't got the ball, Glenn.
I know.
But the thing with that is, it's one of those things. You know how you just kind of, as a kid, you get frustrated. You just go take the ball because you want the ball.
That's right.
On one hand, that's what we should be doing, but it's so dangerous.
It is.
Because our history is filled with men and women who went to take the ball in order to move it forward. And we have days dedicated to them now. We have memorials. We have monuments dedicated to them now.
Mm-hmm.
And then every time someone moves the ball forward, it's as if systems are now put in place to make it harder for the next person.
That's true.
You know another sad truth to what you're saying? You have entities and groups and organizations that are trying to take the ball and move forward. And people who look like them
Yeah.
are trying to stop them from moving the ball forward,
Mhm.
saying they're doing it wrong.
Right.
Or things of that nature. And here decades later, even people who look like them don't tell their story properly.
Mm-hmm.
Black Panther Party, for example,
Yeah.
or Malcolm X being some violent, just
Right.
just riffraff type
Yeah.
dude. No, and we tell their stories wrong.
Yeah.
And so not only do we, so we're talking about trying to move the ball forward. I had a conversation with my brother, like we can't get on the same page.
Yeah.
So in order, we're expecting these results.
Right.
But when you have those people, like you said, trying to take the ball and move it, we fight them.
Yeah.
Instead of just, okay, man, I may not agree, but you doing something, I'm
Yeah.
let you have it.
But regardless of those challenges, we have to, as difficult as
Yeah.
it may be, we have to find a way
Yeah.
to think offensive minded.
Yeah.
And it's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a difficult opponent.
Mhm.
We have to keep going to the drawing board, and we have to get this ball moving forward.
Yeah.
We have to.
Yeah. I think it's important because if we don't do it, who will? And moving the ball forward may not be us being on the front lines of the protest downstairs. It may be doing something in our sphere of influence.
Yeah.
Right.
In your law practice, on your job, in the different places I go, in our sphere, because all of us interact. All of us have been blessed to find ourselves in a lot of different diverse rooms.
That's right.
So it's important that in every area of life that we do something in order to move the ball forward. But while we're there, I want to talk about these different spheres of influence that we have. How do you respond to people who don't get it? And for me, that's almost just as frustrating
Yeah.
as the actual thing happening. But then you have to encounter the person who literally just doesn't get it. I remember when Obama got elected. President Obama got elected that day after, and having a conversation with someone, a white person. They were grieving. They
were upset.
They were grieving. And you want me to tell you the hard part about it? Let me tell you for real. This was the hard part.
Stop.
This was the hard part. They were distraught at the fact that they had to explain this to their children. And how this president and this president's policy, how it's going to be unfair to people who work hard, to people. And I'm sitting there like,
Wow.
Are you serious?
Wow.
Like, literally, this person was grieving that President Obama got elected. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and this thing is, we probably all encounter those people, literally just don't get it. Just who literally just think, oh man, that's why we have the justice system, and let the system take. But like, no, the system is what keeps failing us.
Right.
Like, so what is your response to the people? You can see it on social media. You can look at tweets. You can look at videos. You can see how people who just don't get it.
They don't. That's
Go ahead.
tough. No, I'm saying it's tough. I mean, it's, you have to say, how much effort would it take for them to get it, and is that something that I am willing to do?
Yeah.
Well, me and Jeff were talking, and my stance on that is, if they don't get it, they've seen enough to get it. The evidence is all around of what it is, and so what I think is, where we are right now, the people who don't get it, they get it. They choose not to. I think I believe if you're picking sides, they've picked their side. Because I don't know how. There's nothing that can be done. So if you go back to the 60s, like civil rights, like there was those things. Like people are like, we're past that.
Right.
But then they see on the news, black folks getting sprayed by fire hoses and dogs being unleashed, and then that changed the minds of a lot of people who were oblivious. You can't be oblivious now. You see what I'm saying? Because when they saw it, that changed them. But the ones who were changed. And my thing is, if you've seen, what you've seen,
you've made a decision.
And you haven't changed, you've made the decision not to accept or acknowledge. So I don't think there's any more to see a dude get, watch the whole thing, to see a dude, just give his life up with the knee on his neck for 9 minutes or 10 whatever minutes, and then the week before that see a video of three random white guys drive down. This dude is running for his life. They run him down, get out, fight him, and execute him. And for people to say, well, let's just see how things happen. We don't know what happened before. They've made their decision. They've decided that these either this black guy must have deserved it somehow. He did something wrong. Or B, I do not believe that good white folks are capable of doing something so evil without a good reason. And so my belief is, the ones who ain't got it ain't gonna get it.
It's self-hate's real.
They've decided.
That's right.
That this ain't a problem.
And you quickly pick up on what I characterize as self-hate, or evidence of self-hate. And it's I'm okay, I'm fine. I know that there was something that this person did, and then they go on a witch hunt
because that ain't happened to me. So I know you must have did something wrong.
And unfortunately,
you ain't gonna get it. Come on, man.
I'm 42 years old. And you know what? I've tried to have those conversations, which have turned into fights, which have turned into, my belief that it's really difficult to win a debate on social media. And
it's impossible.
Impossible. And then you just kind of like, wow. Like, that's the position that they've taken.
They've taken it.
They've taken that position, saying that there's cause and effect. And you know what? The cause is a lot of times of what we've seen. Okay, you may have done something that broke the law, but did you do something to deserve that?
Right.
And you say, wow, that's a big price to pay for this beautiful skin that we have.
And even if you did something to deserve that, does this one person get to be judge, jury, and executioner?
I know.
Is it his call to make?
Exactly.
Even if you did deserve that.
Right. So we think about all these different factors. So now let me shift you. You all have alluded to this already, but I want to ask this question. Both of you are raising sons. So, what's your response? So, we talked about our response as an individual. We talked about our responses based on our experiences. Now, what's your response as a father who, this evening, you go home, there's your son who you have to raise, who God has given you the job to prepare for the world.
Yeah.
What's your response to him? Well, how does this shape even how you talk to your son, even how you raise your son, for lack of better words?
Yeah, that's a tough one. My son's 10 years old, just turned 10 a few months ago. And like the story I was telling you earlier, I went into the room and my kids were visibly in the other room.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my son saw me.
Yeah.
He saw me, and he actually came in.
Yeah.
And I attempted to try to, because I was emotional, I was upset.
Yeah.
I attempted to say, you know what, never waste a learning moment.
Yeah.
And I tried. And I was looking in the eyes of somebody that was innocent.
Wow.
I was looking in the eyes that, they don't have hate in them.
Yeah.
Like there's zero hate. He can be whatever he wants to be. Like we love on him. We love on him, and we love on him. And then I'm trying to explain such a difficult thing to him. This is what happened. As I'm trying to get my words together, and I am saying things like, you know what, there's a black man, and this happened to him. He says, oh, like Emmett Till.
Wow.
Like, you talking about like the boy that whistled and they did all that to him? Man. Like, so it's difficult. I wish I had an answer to, I'm going to I have to. It's my obligation, because if I don't, I won't be preparing him for the world.
Yeah.
Like it's a chapter or a curriculum that I cannot overlook.
Yeah.
I think it's just about, how do I do this so, number one, that he's not somebody that looks the other way and says that can't be me.
Right.
Like, how do I do this where he comes home alive and plays defense? But how do I do it as well that he understands that offense is your responsibility too?
Yeah.
It's tough.
Wow.
It is.
You know what I mean? It's tough, and I'm still trying to find my way, because I don't want to transfer hate.
Right.
That's what I don't want. I don't want to transfer hate, and I don't want to transfer fear.
Right.
So I'm always in this kind of balancing act.
I mean, but
you know what I mean?
That's our existence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That tension is always there. How can I play offense in a way that's not going to get me put out the game? You know what I mean? How can I assert myself or my cause, but still be a player, and so I found myself, particularly with Trey, who's 5. I found myself being a little bit harder on him than I would like. Especially as it relates to certain things. I'll confess this. One time, we were at a store, like a little, I don't know, like Five Below or something. They just got a bunch of stuff. We go to another store. Trey has a toy in his hand that I didn't buy. I went off on that boy.
Yeah.
And part of it was, we've had this conversation before. Part of it was, you asked for this toy. I said, we're not getting that today. Put it back. And part of it was, we cannot afford to mess up like this.
Yeah.
And there was another situation, like it was like his baseball game. My wife was telling him something he didn't like, and he just did like anger, like a almost a little growl. And we kind of lit into him then too. But at that point, we did teach him. It's just like, you can't do that to your mother or any authority figure, because you cannot come off as threatening to people in authority, because if you do, that is their license to kill you. And he was 4.
Wow.
And I had to tell him, if you get aggressive
Yeah.
with authority figures, namely police officers,
Right.
they can take your life and be justified in doing it.
Wow.
Such a
And go to work the next
It's a
day.
sad reality,
So-
but I understand what you're saying.
And
though.
so we're, mommy, daddy, everyone that loves you, our life is uprooted, and that man goes to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You cannot afford to have that happen. So maybe I'm leaning a little bit too much on the defense.
Yeah.
But you know, having been in certain situations and having experienced certain things, I'm like, man, we can't play offense if we're not in the game.
Yeah.
And so I was like, son, I need you to come home.
Right.
Yeah.
And the system has done a really good job of connecting the concept of aggression with all of our just natural qualities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, all our just our natural qualities. So what happens is that we're always on this. How do I manage aggression?
Putting on this show.
Yeah. How do I come across as
I'm
as
okay.
not assertive? But
Right.
and you know and that is that comes with a huge compromise.
Right. Huge.
It comes with a huge compromise, and I think a lot of us, man, we don't like it at all. But you know what? So many of us have adjusted to trying to win like that. But then you see this brother.
Right.
He didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
You see this brother on the ground. I kept watching that video saying like, okay, that's enough now.
Yeah.
Like you can let him go. He's
Right.
he's not like he's not Captain America.
Yeah.
He's not Thanos. He's spent.
And then when you
He's spent. Like he's spent. This brother spent, man.
Yeah. Then you see the other angle. That man is handcuffed, and it's 3 more officers with their body on his body.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, man. So it's that injury. I mean, unfortunately, we had to say it.
4 men killed that man, not 1.
Right. For the black man in America, we have to learn to play that game. That's crazy. Regardless of how, from an early age,
4.
you have to learn, like, to play that game.
Yeah.
And that's literally our reality. If we want to make it home.
Tamir was 12.
Tamir Rice was 12. If we want to move further, like if we want to see the next generation, we have to learn like to play that game. If we want to play, you know, of course, you know, a lot of us oftentimes, you know, as African, we create our own worlds in which we feel a lot safer in. But to live in the larger world, unfortunately, we're reminded that over and over and over again, we have to learn to play that game.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, man, because even that moment when I took my hood off in that apartment complex that day, later on that evening, I thought about watching the documentaries that I watched as a kid. And they used to tell men, not boys, men, if you're ever walking down the street and a white lady comes or a white man comes, don't look him in the eye.
Put your head down.
Put your head down. And I'm like, wow. But that's, in essence, still my reality.
Yeah. Now it's it's a big topic again. Thank you again for the platform and just the video. That it's so much to learn from that,
Yeah.
and it's so much that like so many feelings that it generated. The gentleman's voice. That like that's like our whole kind of experience was in that video.
Yeah.
And then you hear this gentleman's voice that is in control because he doesn't bum rush. He doesn't go in and like do anything. So he's still but he's communicating. He's almost narrating what's going on, and I felt everything he was saying too. You know what I mean? Like I'm visually seeing something, and I see another person that obviously sees what I see, and you hear the frustration and come on, man, that's enough, man.
Yeah.
Come on, man, that's enough.
You gonna
He's
kill
not
him,
moving.
man?
Right.
He's not moving. But then you see the face of hate,
Yeah.
Or the face of indifference.
the face of it. Yeah.
Who literally doesn't care about
That-
his condition.
That's the scariest part.
Yeah.
He didn't look like he hated him. He didn't look like he was mad at him. He didn't look like he was scared of.
Yeah.
He was scared of him. He looked indifferent.
Right.
He looked like this person doesn't matter. You're going to kill him. If I do, I do. If I don't, I don't. That's what that face was.
Yeah.
Which to me is even more heartbreaking than the face of rage or hate. This is the face of, so what?
Yeah.
Right.
That's crazy.
It doesn't matter.
And that's the feeling I felt, that visual, that mindset I felt when I've watched the news over and over again, like, or when I've heard verdicts that come out, and my response, they literally don't care.
They don't care.
Like, they cannot care. When I see our president's tweets, he literally doesn't care.
He tweets, if you destroy property, we will shoot you.
He doesn't care. And unfortunately, that's a reality as, I would say Americans, but as African American males, that we have to live with. Let's wrap the question, this session up,
Okay.
with this. Make full circle. As a believer, as a Christian, how do we respond to this? Like, what are your thoughts? Because, as pastor, I gotta know what, as a Christian, because the thing is, I'm a African American Christian.
Yeah.
I'm an African American Christian, so I'm living this lived experience as a Christian. And let's be honest, sometimes the Christian thing to do doesn't feel like the right thing to do. Like, the Christian thing to do, although ultimately it is what we should aspire to, but let's be honest, it takes a lot to get there when you're feeling the feelings we felt.
Well, what do you mean by the Christian thing to do?
I mean, in a very broad sense, as believers in Jesus Christ, as followers of Christ, what's our response? How do we view this? How do we sit with this? What's our response? Because on one hand, we know Jesus was all about justice.
Right.
Jesus would be outraged, so we can be outraged.
Yeah.
And I think that's an acceptable feeling, to be outraged when you see injustice, not just for that man, but for any
Anybody.
living being.
Yeah.
But then also, it's the other side. How do we consider that officer? Do we even give thought to him? Because now he's been arrested, charged,
Third degree and manslaughter.
third degree murder, manslaughter.
Not first
Not
execution.
correct.
But
But let's be like,
Yeah,
and that's
just
the
be
question.
honest.
Do we give thought to him? How do we give thought to him now?
yeah, so today, this morning, I finally got it in me to pray for him and his family.
I like how you messed your face up when you said that.
Because I wasn't okay with it.
Right, that's why I pointed that out.
It wasn't easy for me to do.
Yeah,
I wasn't happy to do it.
yeah.
But I think that, that's, you're talking about that Christian thing to do, be angry, but,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And I think that was my, but I'm mad, God, the one thing I had to understand, God is not, he's not afraid, he's not intimidated by our anger.
Exactly. That's true.
He doesn't get upset
Yeah.
because we're upset. He's not going to hold it against us when we're angry at things like this.
Mm-hmm.
God is God of justice. He's upset about things like this.
Yeah.
So I think that, at least for me, I had to kind of get past I have to be okay and feeling good and, Lord, you're good. Yes,
Yeah.
Yes, this is happening, but God, you're great. And no, I don't have to be like that to seek him. David wasn't like that.
Right.
In the Bible when he saw God. I mean, he seems like, God, you supposed to protect me. You turn your back on me. I mean, those were his sentiments.
Yeah.
And so I think as Christians, we have to be okay with, one, not trying to get over it so fast, but two, not waiting till we're over it or no longer angry before we think that we can see God. And I think that's when your mind has to, in those things that right, have to supersede what you feel, right, in the moment, and say, God, you love that man just like you loved the man that he murdered. You loved Cain just like you loved Abel. Mm-hmm. You loved, the Egyptians when you took all of their firstborn sons, just like you loved the Israelites, because all of us are your creation. And so I think it's one of those things like, Lord, we need help. We need you. We don't have the answers. We are tired. We are exhausted. We have been in Babylon long enough. God, we need you to do something. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Why are we still here? Yeah. And I think we have to be bold enough as his children to say, Daddy, this ain't right. Right. And you don't have to let this go on. Right. Now, he may not move, but he's not intimidated by us coming to him like that. Yeah. And that's the one piece of offense that we do got. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I mean, that's,
I think that's great, that whole idea that even in our anger, we can still go to God. We can still seek God, which for me is a beautiful thing that teaches us an important lesson of God. That, man, God is always available to us, regardless of where we're coming from. Yeah. So God is not just available to us when we're singing, or when we're in church, or when we're doing the right thing. No, God's available to us even when we're angry, even when we can't interpret how we're feeling, even when it doesn't make sense to us, even when it seems like even when we feel as God, you should have been done something. Mm-hmm. But God still makes God's self available to us, to come to us. If you don't mind, I'm gonna wrap this up with a prayer. Yeah, let's do this. God, we just thank you for just being God. God, we thank you for right now being reminded that you're still sovereign over our lives. Yes. God, right now we are praying not just for ourselves, Lord, but for all the other African American males who just trying to navigate life in America, or just life in this world. God, you know what we have had to deal with. You know those fears we may have deep down inside, even if we don't acknowledge them. We know those things in our lives, dear God, Lord, that may cause us to be hesitant, dear God, Lord. But God, Lord, let us not be fearful. God, give us the courage and the boldness when the opportunity presents itself for us to play offense and to move the ball forward. Give us the courage and the boldness, dear God, Lord, to lead our families, to lead our community, to lead the next generation, dear God, Lord, to be able to forgive those who've done injustice against us. God, we're praying, God, for all your people, black, white, purple, yellow, doesn't matter, that we all seek you and we all fall on the side of justice. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. Hey, I just want to thank you for joining us in this conversation. We could keep going on and on. I want to encourage you, whether you're African American male or whoever, male, female, black, white, other, it doesn't matter, to take some time to reflect, to acknowledge, to name those feelings, those emotions, and then regardless of where you find yourself, to seek God in the midst of that. All right, talk to you soon. Love you much. Bye.